Hey guys, it's your old man Softy here, and today we're playing the Wheel of Shiyu. Now how we play is we spin the wheel twice, and depending on which characters we land on, is the characters we choose. There's only two special characters that are on here. Is if we get Bernice on the first one, we have the chance for Lighter, and if we get Miyabi on this one, we have the chance for Sokaku. So we'll do that for Team 1, and the same for Team 2. Now, let's try this Shiyu wheel. Alright, one of them's gonna be Vivian. Alright, one of them's gonna be Vivian. Now, the next partner to Vivian is gonna be Bernice. Alright, then who's the next person? Next team. And then we got Grace as the second team. And then for the third team, we got Jane Doe. Jane Doe and Grace. That's gonna be tough, but we'll try it. Now, each one's gonna get one chance at the support. So let's choose the support. Is it gonna be for Team 1, Astra or Yuzuha, or other support? Looks like it's Astra or Yuzuha. So we're gonna play it one more time for Team 2. Ooh, we have to do other support for Team 2. Well, that's gonna be tough. But it's Shiyu 4, so it shouldn't be that hard. Alright, so we have one team being Jane, Grace, Rina, and the other team being Bernice, Vivian, and Yuzuha. Let's see how this goes on Shiyu 4. let's do level 5 of Shiyu Defense. Who is our first team? Jane Doe is one of the team members. Now, second team. Is Miyabi. Miyabi and Jane Doe. Interesting. Alright. What's gonna be the next one? Bernice. And who's the next one? Team 2. Oh, can't do Miyabi again. Bernice, and it's either Piper or Grace. Oh, it's Piper. Alright, and then let's see if we can do the supports. Who's the second support? Or who's the first support? The first support gets Astra or Yuzuha. Alright, and then do we have to use another support, or do we get Astra and Yuzuha again? We have to use another support for Team 2. Alright, let's do this. All right, let's start Shiyu 6 with Team 1 is Grace. And who's Grace's companion? Piper. Oh, this is gonna be my worst team ever, but we'll try it. Now, who's gonna be Team 2? Oh, not Grace again. No, not Piper. We already have Grace and Piper. We don't want to do that again. Alright, who's the next one? Miyabi is Team 2. Now, do we get Sokaku? Or who else do we get? Well, we can't do Grace again. So we'll spin it one more time. Maybe one more time. I don't know how many times we have to spin it. Yep, we can't do Piper again. Oh my goodness, stop doing this to me. Alright, try it again. Oh, come on. I already got Piper. I don't feel like fixing this wheel every time. Alright, now we got Vivian with Miyabi. Now for supports, Team 1 gets hopefully Yuzaha. Team 1 gets a Yuzaha. Hoorays! Does Team 2 get Astra? Team 2 gets an Astra. Alright, that'll make it much easier. Alright, let's do this. right, Shiyu 7. Who is our first team? Not Grace again. Oh my goodness, Grace has been in each one. All right, who's next with Grace? Grace and Miyabi. All right, team 2 is Bernice. And is it gonna be lighter? Or it's gonna be... Nope, can't be Grace. And Jane Doe. Bernice and Jane Doe. All right, who are our supports? All right, Team 1 has another support, and not Astra or Yuzuha. Now, Team 2. Is gonna have Yuzuha. All right, let's do this. Alright guys, that's it for the Wheel of Shiyu. Hope you enjoyed this showcase.